Attention, please. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, people, good night. Again, it's me again, right? You get to see my handsome face another time, second time. We were here earlier with Kamar. No, we're going to be here with Daniel, right? Um, track and field star at Vaz Prep, track and field star at Immaculate, track and field star at Florida State. I want to say she'd have been the track and field star right now in the pros for Jamaica, but that is not the route that she decided to take. She decided to do her own thing. And now, to me, and this is only to me, I believe she's the best realtor in America. Obviously, she bases in Atlanta, so she's doing her thing in Atlanta. Obviously, we'll get into that. But if you guys ever need a house, whether to buy or to rent or to sell in Atlanta, Danielle will always be the person to go to. So without further ado, Danielle Jeffrey-Elliot.
Hello. That was
Hey,
nice. I love that.
hey
That
man.
was great.
Hey Dan.
That was awesome.
You already know Dan. I appreciate you for everything that you have done. Every time I reach out, you always answer my question, no matter
Of
could
course.
have midnight, could have whenever. You always answer. I definitely appreciate that first and foremost. So
Okay. Yes.
we went to Vaz, right? And I've told a lot
Mhm.
of persons, I mean, probably Vaz is probably not the same Vaz that we went to, but I've told
No.
a lot of persons that if you never get to go to Vaz, half of your life gone. It was just a
Facts.
different
Big
experience.
facts.
All right, so tell me about, I want you to tell me about your own experience at Vaz and really and truly what got you excited in track and field.
hmm So Vast Prep kind of, it was a no-brainer because my cousins, other relatives before they migrated went to Vaz, and it was like you said, the place to be, the prep school to go to. If you're in Kingston, you want to try for go Vaz. I mean, I even remember a lot of celebrity kids went to bars as
Uh-huh.
far as that, so easily, like we could run down the list. Politicians' kids went to bars. So it wasn't anything unusual. Like I just knew that I was gonna go there. When I want to say second grade is when I started. Didn't start out running at all. That was not anything I ever thought about.
Uh-huh.
And I remember it to this day because it kind of sort of felt like a buck-ups thing. Um, Coach Bennett was there at the time. Coach TC was
Uh-huh.
coaching football, right? Yes.
Uh-huh.
It was just a regular PE day. I remember it clearly. There was a girl, very fast runner. Her name was Nikisha Gooden.
Uh-huh.
And just in PE class, I just ran and I beat her. And then Coach Bennett was like, just come to training. And that's just what it was. That was the reality. We'll just go to training. I mean, there was a lot to learn, of course, tender age, grade 4. So it's not like I knew anything about track and field, in that sense. But what I quickly came to understand now, thinking back, sports is very important to the essence of Jamaica.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's like you live and breathe it. It's a no-brainer. It's structured. Once your coach reach out to your parents and tell you, okay, I'm interested in your child being a part of this. No, it's serious business. And I mean, grade 4 is what, 7, 8 years old or something like that. And
Uh-huh.
it's serious business then,
Uh-huh.
at that stage. So Vast Prep at that time was well known for its diversity with sports. You're not just excelling in track. They did well in table tennis. They did well in swimming. They did well in dance. They did well in so much.
Uh-huh.
So when you got to Vaz and you're wearing your blue and yellow, you're representing, and it kind of just took off from there.
So a little bit before Vaz, right? What was
Mhm.
how did the decision came up? Because as you said, even Sanya Richards Ross went to Vaz. A lot of
Correct.
persons know that. Even she went to Vaz before, she migrated.
Correct.
So it's just Vaz was just like the gold standard, and
Yeah.
even I know at that time I believe it was 30,000 or something per term, and trust me,
Mm-hmm.
my mother never have it, but she find it because
Mine too.
you want to give your
Mine
child the
too.
best education, the best
Yep.
opportunity to, because the foundation is very important, right?
Absolutely.
So to give your child the best foundation, you're gonna do whatever it takes.
Absolutely. The structure there was incomparable. I mean, the teachers did what they had to do. Not saying that everybody was excelling and stars, but they definitely looked at your strengths and weaknesses and kind of made that work. Of course, everything is preparing you for GSAT at that time. I don't even know what it's called now, but I still call it GSAT.
I hear it called pep. I hear it called pep. No, I can't keep up. I can't
I
keep
mean, I can't keep up, but I do know it just had a totally different essence.
up.
It was a standout. I mean, even kids from other schools knew it.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. I mean, Vaz was just the place to be or to send your child at that time in the 90s when we went.
Absolutely. All right. So tell us a little bit about your childhood now. Like
Mhm.
how did you grow up? Your parents. What was the lifestyle like for you growing up?
Yeah, so funny story. My mom and my dad were neighbors and
Mm.
they grew up together. And that was my reality. So I did not have to wait on the weekends to see my dad. I just went next door, pretty
Wow.
much.
Wow.
They knew each other since maybe like 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
So they grew up together, and then here I am. Um, I feel like if anybody ever set the bar for raising a child in a sense of an environment where they keep a child in a child's place and the adults handle their thing, they did it. I have to give them that. They both went their separate ways with their relationships. I didn't feel like anything to me because I was still priority. I had to go to school, drop off and pick up. I had track training. I needed new spikes. It just flowed. My dad went to Calabar. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that if I was a boy, I would be going to Calabar without a doubt.
Without
So
an
he went to Calabar. He did track a little bit on basketball. So that was kind of the sports part of it too, but he didn't force me into it. I just fell in love with it, you know, and my mom supported me accordingly, like every track meet, everything. So that was really the basis or the foundation of it. It was good structure.
So when you started track, right? When you
Mhm.
started track and when you started actually competing, because I think at that point in time, Heidel was our biggest competitor, right? I think it was
Yes,
Heidel, and I think if it, Heidel, Lannemans, those schools are,
correct. Yes.
yeah, those were
St.
biggest.
Paul was kind of in the mix too.
Yep,
Woolmers was in the mix too.
yep.
Um, when I started, I wasn't really good. I don't think. I mean, I didn't really shine until like my last year at Vaz when I won the 300 and the 150. And
Mm-hmm.
at that time, I knew that I wanted to go to Immaculate. I can't remember what I came the year before, but I do know that that was my standout period when I was
That was
like,
the
okay,
standard year.
everything, yes, all the training and everything we were fighting to the pieces to put together came together, you know. So it was Miss Simpson and Mr. Bennett that was mostly there at the time with our training. I remember, Coach Cece would come in now and again. But
So
they knew because at the time when I was younger, ahead of me was Deandra
yep,
Doyley, and
yep.
then she went on to compete at Miami, and I believe Nikisha was still competing at Vaz Prep, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember who else was. Oh, Shakira. Yeah, a couple girls were there that did very, very well. Of course, and then I kind of stepped into that senior role, and it just took off from there.
So um I would say when it come on to track and field,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the year that you won now, you're now going to
Mm-hmm.
high school.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of persons will say Immaculate is not the sexiest peak when it come on to
No.
going now to do track and field. They're thinking, well, when you talk about Immaculate, that the education, the standard of the education,
Mm-hmm.
talk about being ladylike, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You tend to Immaculate, but track and field, not so really. So
Mm-hmm.
was it that you really and truly wanted to go to Immaculate? And
I
why?
really, I really and truly wanted to go. I felt like that was the best place for me to be academically. Um, the two things I knew about the track side with Mr. Prince is that one, like you touched on before, Sonia Richards was there
Mm-hmm.
prior.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to say the year before I made it, Diane Dietrich had broken that class 4 record.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or maybe 2 years ago, because I know she's probably 2 to 3 years ahead of me. So knowing that he doesn't have a full caliber of star athletes, but he has his one, two few, I
Mm-hmm.
was comfortable enough. I'll be honest with that. I was comfortable enough. Mind you, I never met Mr. Prince while I was at Bars. It was at a Miami Classics that Bars rep took me to, and it was banging down the gate. I think we were lining up for a heat or something like that. And was banging down the gates and was like, Daniel, where are you going? Because at the time I don't think he knew that I had passed for Immaculate yet. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I passed for Immaculate. So it's like, okay, good. I'll see you September. Very excited. And I was like, what's wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
Not knowing that, he had this master plan. And I was just like, I'm just going to school.
So, going to Immaculate again, you had to, in that time, you had to compete against, the likes of Home Technical, Veer
Oh
Technical.
yes. Oh yeah.
Obviously, Edwin Allen wasn't the powerhouse that they are today, but they were still in the mix, right? You had,
Hmm.
obviously,
The
you had,
Jago.
yeah,
Jago
same
at
thing.
that time, yes,
Yes,
was
same
very
thing.
competitive.
So,
Hmm.
at any point in time, were you like, man, I don't know, man. I don't know if I could do this. Listen, I just come here for school. Anything I get
Yeah.
on the track side is just a bonus. How
Yeah.
did it play out in your mind for you?
I so when I think about it, or when you ask me in that sense, I remember the last article that was written about me when I was leaving Vaz. I cannot remember the name of who wrote the article. I think it came in the Gleaner. He specifically called me an underdog.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuck with me for years
Mm-hmm.
because I loved it. I never wanted to be the loudest one in the room. I was never the loudest one in the room. I was always the one to be overlooked in a sense, especially when it came on the track and it's like, okay, you run a meet and you win. And it's like, who is this girl?
Yep.
So I love that. It took the pressure off of me. I don't want to be known. I want you to think that this little immaculate girl made the final and you think you're going to win, but you're not going to win. So
All right.
that worked for me. That kind of kept me focused and settled. And I just had my personal goals for myself at the time. So my first champs was not even at the National Stadium. If you remember, that was when them was redoing stadium in
Yep. Yep.
2001. So we had to run at GC Foster.
Oh God.
And I was like, lad, my first champs there, GC Foster. And whatever. My mother was like, but you have 7 other champs to run. Like, just get
Yep.
this one out the way.
Yep.
And I think we medaled in maybe the 4x1
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. If hopefully I have the facts right, but it
Yeah.
wasn't anything great, but it was great for Immaculates,
Yeah.
because we're not known for that. And I
Absolutely.
like that even more. And I think that's what caused the standout in people's minds is because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't go to a school that was known for
Yeah.
sprinting and
Absolutely.
the consistency. So I'm looking at the times these girls running now in high school, and I'm looking at the times that I ran in high school, and I'm like, okay, maybe I wouldn't even make the final. Maybe I wouldn't even be close. But what I think keeps people in mind is that it was consistent. It was very consistent. Each year I was somewhere on the podium, somewhere still traveling for career stuff like that.
All right, Dan. So here is we went and we did a little bit of research
Of
because we wanted to
course.
see what was going. Listen, if you were in 2009, 11.6 is a super time. Right now, I
Yeah,
don't know.
exactly.
right now, I don't know where 11.6 would get you. Listen. We have the
List
twins.
nowhere.
We have the twins running 10-9, and listen.
Exactly.
So again,
Exactly.
but obviously, and obviously world under 20 champion, silver medalist, and we can go on and on about all the accolades in track and field for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because again, for me, listen, when I was at Vaz, I was that athlete who first to training, last to leave, but I'm not good at all. I just want to be around the athletes. That was me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Coach Bennett was so, he was so in awe of my determination. The man try remember do everything. One time the man said,
Mhm.
hey, go jump in the long jump pit. Let go see if I can do long jump. Hey, go do high jump. He just wanted me to represent.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I
Yes.
just couldn't do it, right? But
Yes.
you know, especially that last year when you won that
Mhm.
300, it was you probably don't remember, of course not. But that was me. Go Daniel, go Daniel. And I was just so happy for you. So now seeing the transition that you make, now to where you are, it's just kind of surreal for me.
Yes.
But
For a lot of people. For a lot of people.
so now let's talk about, so obviously you won some gold medals,
Mhm.
at champs.
Yes.
Then no, you went to Florida State, right? Where you
Mhm.
were where you were an All-American, right? So
Mhm.
when you went to Florida State, what was the decision to? Because again,
Of
that
course.
time you could. I'm sure there was a lot of scholarship offers for you, but what was
Mhm.
it why you wanted to go to Florida State?
Um, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be very honest on this podcast. So I had quite a few offers, and Florida State was the warmest offer,
Yeah,
technically.
yeah.
Every other school was in some cold place, some far place, and I didn't want to go anywhere cold and far. I wanted to be as close at climate as Jamaica as possible. So that's really why I chose Florida State, honestly.
Hold that thought 1 second, Daniel, because obviously want the viewers to see this video of Daniel being the class two champion in both the 100 and the 200. And Daniel, I don't know if when you watch this video, if you can even remember yourself, who is this little tiny girl just running? And again, I think, was it the same underdog mentality for this one as well?
Um, kind of, sort of.
Kind of,
Kind
sort
of,
of.
sort of, kind of, sort of. So I wanted to be, so a couple things. I didn't want to be in a climate that I knew I'd struggle in.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about my body.
Yep.
I was also thinking about a program that I wanted to be a part of, which would get me work. Because a part of me still wanted to go professional,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm always plan A, plan B type person. And I wanted to make sure that if anything were to happen, I can fall back on my education or still be good in that regard. So I really did want to go off to college. The other programs didn't seem fit enough for me. But when I was looking at the further state program, I was under the impression that the coach that was there was coaching both male and female. When I started in short sprints, when
Okay.
I started, they onboarded a new coach at that same year. So it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't clear beforehand that she would be taking on just the women's sprints only.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, kind of left field a little bit, but it worked for the first couple years.
All right, Dan. So 1 second. So we're going to play this video, and after the video, I want you to tell me. I want you to go back into time, and I want
Hmm.
you to tell me what was going through your mind in these two races. Because again, this was me the
You
time.
found the races?
Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. So producer,
All
can you go
right.
ahead and
All
play those
right.
races
Let's
for me,
see.
please?
Let's see.
So Dan, I have a question. So that 100-meter race now,
Yes.
were you expected to win that race?
I want to say yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Were you feeling any kind of pressure? Were you feeling like, man? Because I know
No.
at the start, you weren't leading. And I know
No.
I think the latter part of your race tend to be the stronger, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I had excellent top end speed. I
Okay.
was always running back, and that's one of the reasons why the 200 I like more
Mm-hmm.
because I had more time. Even if I ran the curve, I still had time on the straight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I believe so. I want to say I did win the previous year too. So I knew I had to, get it together.
All right. So
Yeah.
as you talk about the 200, let us play the 200 again. Listen,
Nice.
when
That
you
was fun to watch.
Dan, when you look back at these, do you say, man, I probably should have went pro, or are you content with where you are?
No, I think about it.
You
I
think,
think about it. Yeah. You spend so many years doing something,
uh-huh,
I mean, we're talking grade four until I graduated 2012. I was 22. That's
uh-huh,
a lot of time
a
spent
lot,
on the track. That's
yeah,
a lot of time learning your body, um, adjusting and growing into something and spending. I mean, the track season is a long season and you're treating this like a business. You get to a
absolutely.
point where you're treating this like a business. Everything you do, every thought you think, every meal you eat is a part of the entire package. So when you spend so many years
Uh-huh.
doing something, I mean, even
Yeah.
though it's ended at college, it's still, you still feel parts of you. You still get jitters watching other people run, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's still, you still feel that energy. I don't think that'll ever go away as a former athlete.
So when so I want to talk about the NCAA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because apart from this podcast, we have another sports podcast that we speak on, and we talk on certain athletes, the Abby Steiners of the world, the Kevona Davis of the world, and I want to talk to somebody who has been there because we can talk all we want. I've never run for college,
Mm-hmm.
all the other guys who've been on the podcast, apart from we had Lee Ford and those people on, they have done it. But you have went through the NCAA system. I want you to tell me. I'm going to ask you two questions first, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is the gross difference between Jamaican athletics and American athletics, where the competition is concerned in the NCAA and basically champs, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference
Mm-hmm.
there? And then two, why is it that some Jamaican athletes, after going through the rigorous NCAAs, they just decide, man, this is not for me. Let me go take my degree and do something
And
else.
do something else. So I'm gonna start with the difference.
Uh-huh.
Let's look at the difference in season. For me, I know everybody runs differently. My at the time, at Immaculate, Mr. Prince was very good at identifying what it would take for me to peak at Champs, hold that to get through Easter for Carifta, kind of cool down a little bit, and maybe if there's like a CAC, a Panam, or a World Youth, to be able to still come back and do something, if it's not even individual, but contribute positively to the relay,
Uh-huh.
and then do that all over again,
Uh-huh.
right? I feel like for me, I got so used to that system.
Yep.
When you're going through NCAA, especially from a Caribbean country, now you have to learn how to run indoors.
Uh-huh.
You're not exposed to that at all. I'm not a huge fan of indoor.
Uh-huh.
It's a different type of technique, and running, especially the 200 on the bank,
Uh-huh.
I never mastered it. So my focus was mostly the 60-meter.
Uh-huh.
Um, you are expected, and I'm saying expected because I want to piggyback off of the fact that this is now your job. And while those coaches don't put it that way, let's be real.
Uh-huh.
The more medals they get, the more All Americans they get, that is very rewarding for them,
Uh-huh.
right? So it's viewed differently. Coaches in Jamaica are doing this from, or at that time, I don't know what it's like now, are very passionate about their athletes. Um, track and field keep a lot of Jamaican kids out of trouble, and that's why you'll see most track teams are 60 man strong for that reason. They take pride in that, right? And they go to training and they show up and they go to meets and they do what they have to do, or they take pride in just wearing your colors. For college, you get a sense that yeah, you can be a little bit more than a number, but I feel like you were expected to peak multiple times. I could not grasp that that timetable because, like I said, I was on that strict thing where after a while I wouldn't even go to a JC track meet, or I wouldn't even go to any track meet that's off a Chevron. My season would start at a certain time because I'm running too long at that point. By the time we come back from overseas, school starts September.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So that preparation wasn't quite there for me, or nobody kind of indicated how best to prepare for indoor starting January. Mind you, indoor starts January. By February, usually around my birthday, the end of February is ACC indoor championships every single year. And nationals would be another 2 weeks or so. After that, once you're done indoor nationals, then you have an outdoor track meet the following week.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's not easy.
Yep.
So who's ever the athletes who are able to sustain that and survive that type of timetable, coming off of like a Caribbean country type of timetable, you know, we have our usual champs is it. You're training for champs,
Absolutely.
right? That's it.
That's the big.
But
That's
there
the big,
you
that's
have
the
your
big fish.
exactly. You're on a different timetable, and that kind of threw me off guard. Not everybody can sustain that. It's really just preparing and training for it, and it's a lot to learn. Climate conditions also is something to bring in, where it's typically warm all year round, to be honest. Now you're in an environment where, for myself, I went to Florida State. We don't have an indoor track. Like I said, it's always hot. So we would have to go to New York, Virginia, other states to be in the snow and to, you know, to compete in that light. So, and the traveling too, to get used to that. It's
Yep.
one thing when you're driving from your house to drive to Stadium East to warm up for a track meet on Saturday. It's a whole other thing when you're booking a flight, you're leaving class from Wednesday or Thursday evening to, you know, get somewhere, or Friday, depending on what meet it is, to get to another state to compete that Saturday, maybe Sunday, and fly back for class on Monday.
But then, wouldn't it be said that that would kind of quote unquote prepare you for the pros, like because you know at one time you're over here in Poland, and then you move from Poland, you're gonna Switzerland gonna run, then now you're gonna Kenya, and so would you say that kind of prepare an athlete for the pros?
It can, in a sense. I feel like, okay, so your example, like that's if like you're doing a Diamond League type thing,
Absolutely.
right? And you're having your base camp in England and you're doing your tour in Europe, but you're running your one race, you know, and you're traveling accordingly, or you may be there for an extra week in the city that you're about to run.
Got it.
Now we're talking back-to-back flights to different states just to get a time in, or just to qualify for our nationals. You know, that can be, it's a little rigorous, I won't lie. Or rigorous from me. Maybe some other athletes may not feel that way, but it was a little daunting to me just getting into it, or understanding like, okay, this is what the season is like. This is what it's really like.
So, Danielle, I have a philosophy, and I'm probably by myself on this, but I don't believe, no stretch of the imagination, that American coaches coach Jamaican athletes to be great. That's just me. That's my philosophy.
On purpose, so you just think they can't handle us.
Okay. So I'll say, look at this. Okay, let's say you have a Danielle Jeffrey here, and you have a Shakari here. And you know, say, well, Shakari going to represent the United States. Danielle going to go represent Jamaica. I don't see how he's going to coach Danielle to be better than Shakari. I just don't see it. And that is just my philosophy. I might be totally wrong, but that's why I'm saying, while America does have its benefits, because listen, coming up here, it opens so many doors for a lot of jobs.
Yes.
A
Yes,
lot.
yes, yes,
But
yes.
I'm saying, if track and field is really what you decide that you're going to do, for example, are you seeing Bolt, right? And again, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
that's a generational talent. But like, are you and Blake, like those
Mm-hmm.
persons who decide, say, hey, track and field is my bread and butter. My
Mm-hmm.
personal opinion would be, hey, just stay in Jamaica and just get Jamaican coaches because I think they're going to want the best for you, right?
Right.
If now you're saying, let me get my degree just in case I don't want to do this anymore, then I'll say,
Mm-hmm.
all right, come up here and then see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, it worked for some people. It worked for Veronica Campbell. She was up
Yep,
here
it worked. Yeah, she was at Arkansas. She did very well.
and saying,
Yeah.
and she had a long career. But then you had some, and again, we spoke backstage. We spoke about Kieran. He was a top athlete at Kingston College. Then he
Mm-hmm.
came here, and then I don't know what happened, but
Yeah.
then you have another. You have Dwayne Extal, top athlete at Ulmas, came up
Mm-hmm.
here. It just never
It
materialized. And
just didn't fit. Yeah, it just didn't fit. And you don't know what you don't know, is what I tell people. You don't know what to ask. You don't really know
yeah,
how to go about it until you're in it. And then you really start to think, okay, I'm here. Let me capitalize on this opportunity then. Let me finish this degree, whatever it is, and then
yeah,
see what else spins off from that. It's kind of, it's honestly where it lies. I mean, at some point in that 4 years you're gonna
mhm.
know what direction you're gonna go. It's very clear.
All right. So let me ask you now. After your years at FSU, when did you decide that, man, this track and field thing ain't it for me? I got to go somewhere else.
Yeah, by my third year, I mean, I was considering probably transferring to another college. But then, I was like, let me just finish. That was my main thing. Let me just finish. Let me keep my head down. Let me stay in Tallahassee and do what I have to do. But the injuries kept coming a little bit more frequent.
Mm-hmm.
My main injury in high school was my knee, and I did a surgery on it. After I did my corrective surgery, I was fine. But
Mm-hmm.
the hamstrings were just both of them. It was crazy. So it was too much. It was
All
too
right.
much.
So, and this is another thing I hear, and you can just tell me if it's right or wrong. But, I've
Hmm.
had friends who, came up to university on a scholarship, and they say, hey, man, sometimes even when I'm injured, I gotta go out there and still run. That's some,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
You have to go out there and if your foot is not broken, if your hand is not broken, hey, lace up them spikes and go out there and run. Is
Mhm.
that true?
Yeah, to an extent. So they'll have their therapists and where you need the trainers, athletic trainers on hand, but you have to show up. You got to show up. You got to fight through it. If it's really really bad, you take some time off, but it's you know, like I said, their focus is their pockets.
That's
You know what
hey,
I mean? So
unfortunately.
it is what it is. I'm hearing that it is better. I was hoping that there would be some type of reparations for
Yeah.
some of us who went through it. That would have been nice. But I don't know. The NCAA is a whole little world of its own. And if I had to choose the NCAA environment versus the boys and girls champs environment, boys and girls champs all the way.
All the way. And
All the way, all the way. They're
question,
still trying to figure out how even Jamaica has that type of method, but it is what it is. It's very different.
if you had the opportunity to go back to 2008
Mm-hmm.
or 2009, because you started FSU 2009, right?
Yes,
If you
yes,
had the
yeah.
opportunity
2000.
to make a decision, knowing all that you know now,
Mm-hmm.
would you still choose FSU? Would you still come to university in America? Would you still say, hey, Immaculate, thank you for all the services. Jamaica, thank you so much, but hey, I'm going off to the United States. Would you still say that, or would you decide, man, I probably should stay in Jamaica? What would you decide with all the information that you have right now?
So
Family, husband, everything.
so
Mm-hmm.
remember that a lot of our star athletes camps aren't all in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start there.
Okay.
Um, I probably would have did foot the bill myself maybe go pro and, still paid for my schooling some type of way myself, but try to focus on it that way. Because I
Okay.
thought about that. I had that opportunity on the table.
Like to just focus on school?
Yeah, well, to still compete,
Mm-hmm.
but within the contract, I would be able to cover my college expenses
Mm.
as
Okay.
opposed to going through NCAA. So still the best of both worlds, because that was something that I wanted. I did want to go to school for something, you
All
know.
right.
Yeah.
So Dan, so there's a question by Anthony Henry, right? And he's basically saying, do Jamaicans who go colleges in the US have to fight to get the coach's attention, or does our reputation gives us a little advantage?
Um, I wouldn't say reputation. There is that they treat you, they try to have an even playing field with everybody. For as when I was there anyway, I mean, you'll have your standout athletes, but the coach never really separates anybody per se. Like your example with Shakari or myself or whatever, and putting more time into her because she would eventually run for USA and that would look better for them.
Mm-hmm.
They try to work because at the end of the day, the more all Americans they have, the better, right? Whether
Okay.
you are Jamaican or not, that's their end goal, is
Okay.
an NCAA champion.
Got it. Got it.
Hmm.
Got it. All
Hmm.
right. So let's move away a little now from the track and field space, right? And let's talk
Hmm.
about you now. So as far as I know, you have two handsome boys, right? Two.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, two boys.
All right. So we had a guy on earlier, and he is a girl dad, right? So now you are a boy mom, right?
Right.
Um, do you see? I mean, obviously, the eras have changed for us where you grew up in versus what they are growing up in. They're
Hmm.
more aware, they're smarter, all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
As a
Hmm.
mother, as a Jamaican mother, raising
Hmm.
young men up in this world, is there anything that you pay extra attention to raising these boys?
I definitely wanted them to be very verbal but respectful from an early age, to
Mhm.
express themselves, to think before acting, which we're still working on, especially when they get angry. I
Mhm.
never want them to be in a position where they overreact and it's being interpreted the wrong way. I
Mhm.
want them to definitely, think it through kind of thing. So the emotions, to control their emotions is really, really big. It gets me nervous. Just kind of thinking about it because, we our men need to be protected at all times. It's very delicate and it's easy. It's an easy space where, as young men growing up or young boys, because I have a 5 and a 4-year-old,
Mhm.
they can be they're in a classroom, and the thought to me is that teachers from a different generation are now teaching this generation, and
Mhm.
not all teach. A lot of people hold on to how they grew up,
Mhm. Yep.
and may impart their feelings and thinkings and teachings in that way. So that's also something that I try to, you verbalize or you say how you're feeling, or don't be ashamed of expressing yourself, and be true to yourself.
Mhm. So as I say, we had a guy on earlier, and he said one of the things is that basically the same to what you say. You allow his daughter to express herself, right? Allow her to
Mm-hmm.
talk, allow her to see what
Mm-hmm.
is on her mind, right? And I asked him the
Mm-hmm.
follow-up question, right? So there's an article in Jamaica that a young 14, 15-year-old boy killed himself, right? Because his
Mm-hmm.
girlfriend cheated on him, right? Girlfriend cheated on
Mm-hmm.
him, and he doesn't feel like his family love him. How
Mm-hmm.
much emphasis as a mother, how much emphasis do you place on self-love for your
Mm-hmm.
boys, and
Mm-hmm.
also the love that you pour into those boys to make sure, because when you kiss them up, oh mommy, 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 they don't care about that with them. But
Yeah,
how much
yeah.
how much do you emphasize on that to ensure that these boys are loved on a wholesome level?
Yes, we talk about it. I mean, like you say, I'll kiss and hug on them, but I let them know. I let them hear it, let them hear the words. I'm interested to know how their days went, how they felt they handled it, what they feel, because a lot of growing up, boy, I mean, you guys weren't really allowed to be emotional as far as I'm concerned. As far as I can remember, I mean,
Nope.
Unu wasn't even allowed to cry.
Nope.
You know, that's something that will stay with you forever. They'll tease you about it. So I
Yep.
didn't want them to hold on to certain things, and I really never wanted them to confide in the wrong people, because
Yep.
that can happen too. You know, you do have people who try to steer kids away to manipulate in their own way.
Mhm.
So we talk about it, we verbalize. I mean, their dad does too. I mean, and that's something that I appreciate, to see him loving on his boys. So
Yep.
it's not uncommon in the household. And it's just constant repetition, because they're at that age that is not just a one and done. It's something that you have to keep reinforcing, so they know that it's normal and natural.
Absolutely. And listen, I had an album, right? And
Mhm.
in a picture, my father was giving me a kiss. And I brought that album to school, to St. George's College. I brought that album to school, and someone got a hold of that picture. And they teased me from no, watch it, man. Listen, this is my father, Not no
Oh my
regular man to
God.
go, oh, watch it, man, I kiss him. Wow. I know the terminologies that come with it. So
Yeah.
now I feel like, anytime my father try to kiss me again, no, daddy, what
Yeah,
you
yeah,
do?
yeah. Yeah,
But again,
yeah.
and again, the generation as it go on and on,
Mm-hmm.
it's getting tougher, because as I say, your boys are 5 and 4. When we were 5 and 4, it's different than these boys now. These
Then
boys
yes.
5 and 4 is
They're
like
exposed to
15 and
so much
14.
more now and
Yep,
have access to so much more now.
absolutely. Well,
Yes, yeah.
5 year old have cell phone.
Yes.
I never had a cell phone till I was in second form. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So someone in the comments, they ask if you're a Christian. Are you a Christian? I never think to answer, but they ask.
Yeah, I'm not baptized. Is that it?
They got baptized?
No, I
Oh,
didn't. I
well,
didn't.
so she's of the Christian faith, but she's not baptized.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's move on to where you are now, right? Because obviously,
Okay.
10, 19, and people still forgot in bed, right?
Right. And I
Right.
was late.
So, let's move on to where you are now. You are now, to me, again, this is to me, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I think you're the best realtor in America. And listen, I have a house over here and I use another realtor, and I'll tell that realtor, I believe you are the best realtor in America, right? But now, obviously, you're doing, you're a realtor in Atlanta.
Hmm.
Why did you decide to go to be a realtor? What,
Into
what,
real
what drove you?
estate. My kids were the reason. At the time when I had my youngest son, his dad and I were both having, a regular 9 to 5, nothing crazy. But he was a preemie. So he was in the NICU for a while. I had to go back to work. We are all taking shifts, driving back to the hospital to check on him. His brother at the time was 1 years old, and it was a lot for us to maneuver as a family.
Mhm,
And I said, you know what? I don't want it to be a case where we both have to beg for time to be there for our children.
mhm,
So I thought long and hard. And I was like, what else can I do where I can run my own business, make decent income? I felt at the
mhm,
time it would be super easy. I was like, okay, I see all these real estate agents around town. I want to do that.
mhm,
That is what I want to do. Um, I'll backtrack a little bit. We had tried to buy a home with an agent, and she wasn't very helpful. It was like, you guys aren't ready. Call me back when you're ready. And I'm
mhm.
like, how do we even know when we're
Okay,
ready? How do we even know to call you back?
yeah.
So there wasn't any true guidance. So when it clicked for me that is something that I wanted to do, I was like, I definitely don't want to help people that way. I
Mhm,
don't want to communicate with people that way. I want, okay, if they're not ready here, here's what you need to do. I wanted to be the agent that I needed back
mhm.
then. So that's kind of how I thought about it, and it has been working ever since.
All right. So we know when you close the deals, that's the
Mm.
happiest time. Deal
Yes.
closed, everybody happy. The person getting the house happy, you're happy. Person who is probably selling the house is happy, right? But
Yeah.
what would you say has been the biggest challenge for you in real estate?
The biggest challenge, I think a lot of people try to purchase property with a lot of preconceived notions and misinformation. So
Mhm,
the biggest challenge for me has been educating our community.
mhm,
Um, So much bad information spreading among us. I mean, it is just
Yeah.
mind blowing.
Yeah.
Well, I'll think of it as more of a challenge
Yeah.
because my aim is to just redirect in
Yeah.
that sense.
Absolutely.
And I'm really trying to reach out to more people in my community in Georgia and outside of, in other states to let them know, no, you don't need a social to buy a house. You can buy a house with your IT number. No, you don't need to technically be in a job for 2 years if you are working on a specialty degree this entire time. You're a nurse or a teacher or
Mm-hmm.
CPA or a social worker or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We come into this thing with a lot of fear, and I'm not sure if it's because of what we experience going through immigration,
Mm-hmm.
in our own little journeys, going through this whole government process, and then here we are thinking we're not good enough, but you are, so it's I just say more of a challenge.
Yes.
Not that and it's very possible to get to that frame of mind where you can own a home. It's not far fetched, if you want to put it that way, because I've run into people who've been here for years, older than myself,
Yep.
who never even thought they could have their name on a deed.
Yeah, because and like so much fear, as you said, misinformation is driven into us to say, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you need this, you need 800 credit score,
Right.
you need to have $80,000 in the bank, all those things, and then we say, oh well, we not have that, how we gonna get that, and we're continuously trying to work to that when really and truly
You could have, yeah,
we could have get the
yeah,
house time ago.
a
And
long time ago.
in that space, we are renting and making somebody else rich. And then when we
Yes,
move out of that rent house, then we don't own anything. We'll start back again from scratch. So,
exactly. Exactly.
so another question, I don't know if you put a time on it, but what's next for because I believe, again, this is just me looking at the outside, seeing you, doing this real estate thing, I think you're doing a hell of a good job. But
Thanks.
you're welcome. Is there something else that Daniel wants to do? Is there another challenge that Daniel's probably no, I want to probably go on the quote unquote lendings. Is there anything else that you would want to challenge yourself to do?
Yes, I want to develop. That's my next big thing. I definitely 100% want to develop. I would love to complete a community.
Mm-hmm.
That's my big goal. You don't see a lot of African American women, Black women in that space, much less Caribbean, buying land, developing land, building homes. I
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily want to be on the building side. Definitely feel like I want to outsource that, but to develop a community, get it where it needs to be, or offset, get that part done and then sell it off to another builder. That's something that I really, really, really wanna do. That's my next big goal.
All right, perfect. As it relates to life, right?
Mhm.
We know life happens, and I saw you post something the other day, and I think it was like 10 years ago.
Oh yeah.
You start looking back, and so what is what would you say? And if it's too personal to share, then no problem, we can move on. But what would you say has been in your whole lifetime? From we can say from vast prep to present. What has probably been? I'll say two things. What has been the biggest adversity you faced
Mhm.
from vast prep to now? And
Mhm.
when you look back, what are you most proud of?
Um, Biggest adversity. I feel like my transition from college into workspace to figure out exactly
What to
what
do?
to do.
Yeah,
To
yeah,
figure, honestly, figure out what to do. I mean, there were times when I just had to come off social media because I couldn't be on no social media. I had to hold my head down and figure it out. I
yeah.
had to, it wasn't easy in
Mhm,
any sense of it all. It was a struggle. I mean, yes, I had family here, but the support was limited.
mhm.
And it's very common in the Caribbean space. I'll say this I've heard other people say it too. Like you have family who's been here for a while, but then you still have to go through the struggles. It's like it make more sense to them for you to just start over. you know, there's no cutting corners, there's no cheat sheet. You just have to figure it out. So that was my biggest thing with that transition of, do I stay here or do I really go back to Jamaica after I graduate?
Absolutely.
Um,
And then most
what was
proud of?
question two? Oh, most proud of. Uh, I gotta, I mean, career and all of that, good and great, but I gotta say the babies. I have to. I have to say those two boys, 100%. I mean, everything I do is for them. I definitely want, if they go to school, they go to school. If they run track, that'll be great. I'm not pressuring them at all.
Yeah.
Their dad played football. He did very well. We're not pressuring them at all. Um, we just want them to, I think we're going back to the space of trades being important
Absolutely.
and skills being important.
Absolutely.
So if one of them is interested in real estate and one is interested in building, then I want them to be able to move into that seamlessly. If they are, whatever their interest lies, that they're able to jump into that with full force.
And I want to let me go back a little bit because you mentioned something very important. So you mentioned that you had to come off social media a point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I believe social media is at an all-time high. Right? Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
we're here on a podcast, social media.
Right.
Right? But how do you, as a parent, right? How do you know manage the social media space with your boys because now
Mm-hmm.
you have the TikToks, you have the Snapchat, you have
Mm-hmm.
also mom you don't know about, right? And
Yes.
they know about it. I don't
Oh,
know, but they
yes.
know, right?
Yes.
How do you know manager to ensure that hey, what they're seeing, what they're getting
Mm-hmm.
is what they should be getting.
Yes. So at 5 and 4, they're not that exposed to social media. They don't exceed the YouTubes. So the Gracie's Corner and the Baby Shark, I'm kind of sort of a little bit still in that space. So their tablets are like they have that restricted search thing going on, or they'll use YouTube Kids or whatever, and they don't have it all the time.
Yeah.
So for right now, I'm in a safe space. When they do get older, I have to keep, you have to keep at it. You have to keep checking in and you keep knowing. And even though, because I mean, I went to Immaculate and I feel like, there were girls who were very sheltered
Mhm.
and still, were exposed at the same
Yeah,
time. So you
absolutely.
can't be you can't beat yourself up as a parent.
Mhm.
You literally have to do the best that you can. And if it's not social media, they'll also be exposed at school
Yep,
within, depending on the environment that they're in. So
absolutely.
it's I don't know, a lot of prayer, I suppose, a lot of prayer and a lot of support. Your village is important. And that's what
Absolutely.
we do have. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so we can't finish this interview without talking about the big man, right? Which is your husband, right?
Mm-hmm.
How and listen, I've said two things in life. The two major decisions you can make in life that can impact your
Mm-hmm.
life
Mm-hmm.
drastically:
Mm-hmm.
person you marry and the person you have kids for. Like those
Yeah.
two things, if you have that for the wrong person, your life can turn completely upside down.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, obviously, you probably see him, hey, I love you, you kiss him, blah, 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 whatever you guys do. But on this particular space, I want you to share with me, share the person
Mm-hmm.
who are listening, the person who will eventually see this. For your career, right? Because I'm not sure when you met him, but
Mm-hmm.
just for your career overall, what has having a great supportive husband done for you as you elevate?
I want to say it's one of the most important pieces to this entire thing. It is now 10:30 and I don't have to worry about my kids. They have school tomorrow, and his consistent support is just, I don't even know. I have to thank God every day because I don't think I'd be able to do what I do without knowing that home base is secure. And it's things that we talk about because I have a habit of not setting boundaries in my business. It is hard for me to set boundaries. I love my clients a lot. You guys
Yeah.
are so fun. You guys go through a lot. You guys treat me like your therapist.
Yeah.
Always there, always a part of it. It's more than just a transaction.
Absolutely.
Mind you, I had an open house this weekend. My clients realize I'm in Lawrenceville. I've sold a couple homes in Lawrenceville. One invite me over for dessert, one invite me over for Sunday dinner. I had to swing back around to the house and it kept coming like nothing.
Yep.
Being there is like my second cousins, all
Yep.
of them.
Yep.
So not being able to master setting boundaries and having somebody like him who is so supportive has made it gel very well because I will be on the phone at 11 o'clock if I need to be. And I will have to get up at 5 if I need to be. If I need, because yes, it's a transaction and the bank is from 9 to 5. However, between all those, there's so many moving parts. And
Yep.
there's so many things that happen with people when they're doing this. Mind you, I'm working with people who never thought they could own a home. So I
Yep.
have to hear about all the stories
Mm-hmm.
when from homelessness
Mm-hmm.
to the mental bars to
Yep.
oh my gosh, now I have my house,
Yep. Yep.
you know.
Yep.
So it's a lot to receive, but
Mm.
I'm happy to be on the receiving end and happy that he's the brace behind me, kind of keeping me going in a sense. But it's been, we have to do our check-ins. We
Yep.
definitely do, because I'll get buried into it a lot of times. I'll get really lost in this thing. But he's been super, super supportive.
Yeah, man, because when you look on the scale of Jamaican, somebody I call your phone and live, who that I call you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
to have that support, man. Listen, and I'll say it again for those persons who are watching. The person who you have kids with, the person you marry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care
Mm-hmm.
where you work. If you decide to leave this job for the next, I don't care. The person you
Mm-hmm.
have kids with, the person you marry, the most
Yeah.
important decision you can make in life because
Yeah.
that really set the trajectory of where you're going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's two different viewpoints, two different financial backgrounds, two different people, money management wise, career wise, um, and just even, like your question was, what next? A lot of people, may be in a relationship and it's like, okay, this is it. This is where we are. But I always want more. That's just me. I'm always looking at the next thing and the next big thing or trying to achieve more and to go forward. And he's never, I'm always the one to be like, oh, what do you think about this idea? And the same on his part to bounce off of ideas and to be able to say, okay, what we're doing is for the kids,
Uh-huh.
what we're doing is for the betterment of the whole. This is what we're doing together.
Absolutely.
So it's not easy, but in the moments where you just make a, you stay focused, or like they would say, or for a track reference, we had to always keep our blinkers on.
Got to.
You
Got.
focus on your own lane. You keep your
Yep.
blinkers on. Once you focus on your own lane, nothing else matters.
Yep. And when the problems come, you figure it out.
Yeah, you figure it out because it's a part of it. The problems are a part of it.
Absolutely.
You just figure it out and you solve and you move on.
All right, Daniel. This has been extremely fun. Extremely.
Awesome. Thank you for
I have.
having me.
I have one last question. Just one
Yeah,
last question.
lay it on me. Let's go.
When and I always ask everyone this question because I think it's extremely important to,
Okay.
especially what you're doing to your brand, to your family, to
Mm-hmm.
everything. Because now you have the hyphenated name, right? Elliot, right?
Yes, yes.
When it's all said and done, when Daniel is not in the room, when
Mm-hmm.
Daniel is, 90 odd, no longer 100 and odd, whatever, right? When it's all said and done, how does Daniel want to be remembered? What would you want people to say about Daniel? Daniel did this. Daniel was
Mm-hmm.
this. Daniel
Mm-hmm.
is this.
Yeah. Um, I'd say Daniel was authentic and went above and beyond to help me in whatever I needed. And I guess that's kind of going from a client standpoint, but I'm there for my friends, I'm there for my family. So I'd say, just big genuine ball of bold energy, or bold enough energy, because I'm not the loudest. You already know that. You already
Mm-hmm.
know that. I'm not the loudest. I'm not salesy,
Mm-hmm.
but just someone who was there, can be counted on, authentic, and just, did my own thing. And was it just a good example for everybody to just go for it, and to not feel like anything ends, or the story or the chapter ends when you don't achieve something. You can always pivot and move on to something else.
Extremely, extremely, extremely
Yeah.
good. Well, Dan, once again, you know, to see you from Vaz to where you are now. Obviously, we know people grow, people evolve, but I can tell you from myself, extremely proud of what you're doing. As you know,
Thank you.
anybody I know who trying to even think of a house in Atlanta, I send them straight to you. So thank you for taking the time out to be in this space to talk to us, to just give us some of your knowledge. And
Of course, of course. And thank you so much for having me. This is great. So keep it going. This is
uh,
a phenomenal platform and a great idea. And I'm so happy that listen to that instinct to get it started, because I know
absolutely.
that's where it usually starts. It always
Yep,
starts with that one idea, and you think,
yep.
should I not? But
Mm.
I'm happy that you listened to it and you went for it.
Appreciate it, Daniel. And we'll talk tomorrow, 11 p.m. Okay. All right. Have a good night, Dan.
Thanks so much. You too.
All right. Bye bye.
All right, bye.